Sounds like a party going on there.
I'm at the fair now.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
I'm still setting up. Let me grab my headphones.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you perfectly. And the sombrero music in the background, I think.
Okay.
Well, you made it. Congratulations. That's an accomplishment.
Yep.
Can you move your camera so we can see? Do you have your device there?
Yep. I'm trying to get this Wi-Fi thing hooked up. Yeah. There's the robot.
There you go, man. Full of petro too.
Ready for work.
That's right. Colin and Sohin, I can see you guys joined. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear
you. You're styling in those shades, Sohin.
Thank you. I'm going to Chicago for my Roscon visa.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah. We came back to Tyler. So
I didn't hear you mentioned Kyler. Are you stopping by his place on your way up?
Yeah.
That's really cool. I wish I were there to join you.
Really cool. Yeah.
So, and just so you know, your audio is a little bit scratchy there.
I'm sorry. Driving, so.
No worries.
Yeah, I apologize.
And then, Colin, can you hear us okay? Colin, we can see you, but I'm not sure we can hear you.
You can't hear me.
No, we can. Yes, I'm sorry.
I can hear you, but
yes, we can hear you. Good deal.
okay.
Well, if you didn't pick up, you know, Matt's at the World's Fair in Spokane, Washington, with you know, an expected attendance of about 100,000 people, I think. So we probably ought to let him give him the floor and give us an update of where he's at.
That's one way to explain it. It's a small county fair.
Oh, maybe I had the wrong end of the stick on that.
Yeah. So I just have a booth down here talking with different people. It's been kind of fun. Different people are looking at the machine. It's even retired people that used to work in industry automation are taking a look at it and giving suggestions. So it's kind of interesting to talk about.
And do you, so we saw on the Slack that you've got joystick control going. Do you want to just describe how far you've gotten with digital control?
So I'm at the same point now as I was with the servo, but I swapped out with the electric power steering. And Sohin, thank you for the suggestion for using the potentiometer. I switched out to using a potentiometer and it seems to work okay. I haven't driven it autonomously and I could probably choose a better potentiometer. I only have about 100 ticks from left to right, but it seems to drive around okay.
And the potentiometer, is that the Delphi seat?
No, I ended up breaking that.
And so the potentiometer you used, where did you affix it?
In the Slack channel, I posted a picture of the rod going down with the hose, and there's two spur gears. One of the spur gears is connected to the motor that turns, and then the other spur gear is connected to the potentiometer.
Ah, fantastic.
So if you swap out the spur gear, you may be able to pull things out, get more resolution out of your computer.
It's breaking up a little bit here. I don't know if it's my connection.
No, it's on. Sohin's a little bit breaking up.
I'm sorry. So if you can try out different gear ratios to get the resolution you get out of the potential.
I ended up using an old one that I had in a box, so I could probably get one that's tailored specifically for the distance. I need 2 turns. This one does 10 or 5 turns or 10 turns.
Right. So you can play around with it. So you would change when you can just change the gear and then
It's still a little hard to hear.
so was saying you can change the you don't need to change the potentiometer itself. You can just switch out the gear and that should be
Okay.
Any other questions for Matt? I wanted to get back into the installation process on the software side, but before I do that, any questions for Matt?
No, not from me. You are doing well, Matt.
I haven't totally destroyed it, but I've wrecked it a few times.
As with all progress comes some bumps.
Yeah.
Guys, we can talk about anything you wanted to. I was hoping to steal a few minutes of your time to talk about the installation process on the software side. I've got a few things.
Next hour, but I'll come talk to you.
By way of a reminder, let me share my screen so you can see what we're talking about. Share. Okay. By way of reminder, we've got a milestone plan. In that milestone plan, we have steps 3 and 4 where we install TurtleBot and then test the navigation again on the laptop using RViz. There's some draft documentation that we've gotten to a point where we have TurtleBot installed and we've launched RViz in the installation. And then in the, I don't know how well this is going to show. I'm going to go to full screen and hopefully that's, you're going to be able to see my screen. Jeff, since you're in a stable environment, can you see my screen and it shows the Husky on the left hand side?
Yes, I can.
So what's on my screen is the YouTube video from Ricardo's training, the second class of training. And although I'm not going to play it here, I mean, one of the very first things he does is he launches the Husky Gazebo device, and then subsequently he goes through steps of, you know, capturing some waypoints and using the special teleop that he had produced. So, Matt, if you don't mind, I'm going to direct this question to you, and others can opine as well. I mean, is this what we want people to test in the, you know, the software, testing the software stack? Is this what we want people to try, or do we want to craft our own?
So how to do GPS, autonomous navigation with GPS. So these are really good tutorials. There's one concept I think that Colin Colin mentioned, I'm not sure, Colin, if you mentioned this, but you said, what's the point with the TurtleBot? Why would we want to drive Husky around the TurtleBot? It doesn't drive like a tractor. And what's kind of neat about Ross is that this robot is a differential robot, and the planner can plan for a differential robot or an omnidirectional robot or a car-like robot. You just, you have to change the configuration. So even though this robot is a differential and you're driving it from waypoint to waypoint, to change this from a differential robot to a car-like robot isn't that big a deal. There's a different configuration file to tell the planner what type of robot you have.
So I'm going to interpret that as you're advocating, yes, sure, for this stage, go ahead and use Husky as the simulation platform to get started.
Yes, and then we'll swap. So in Ross, I think that this one is using the TEB planner, but it's easy. In Ross, it's easy to switch out planners if you want to use different type of planning algorithms. But if this one's using the TEB planner, then that will make it easier to switch over to the car-like because you just change a couple configuration files.
Part of my blocking issue with trying to use this step is I don't see in his development environment, I have lost access to, even though I'm a subscriber, you know, full-time annual subscriber, I have lost access to this content. Has anybody used, you know, his RDS platform, and do you still have access to the actual source files that he used to create this? Because otherwise I'm going to have to go try to figure out how to install Husky and recreate all of these tools.
Have you opened up a question on the forum?
Not yet, but that would be my next step, because as an example, then he runs this teleop. I did actually open up a question on the forum, I'm sorry. And a couple of days went by and I didn't get a response, so I haven't logged back in recently to see. But he also had a specialized teleop module where he had actually written some code to save the GPS location. I mean, so I don't have ready access to that either. So I'm a little bit screwed in trying to replicate what he went through on the training.
Okay. Maybe we can send him an email or open up that forum question and see. But he makes it really easy. This RDS is easy just because everything's already installed, so you can see how it works and get an understanding of all of the topics without having to install all software.
And so should I interpret that, Matt, to say you're thinking at stage 3 or step 4 of our implementation guide, you want to direct people to go get signed up for RDS?
The question was to create an RDS account to go through the tutorial?
Right. I mean, here in step 4, test the navigation stack. Do you want embedded in that to say, oh, go log on to RDS and test it there, or were you thinking we were going to install Husky and the necessary components on, you know, a person's laptop?
Okay, that's a good question. What do you guys think? When would you like to switch over to trying to get ROS installed natively? One option is to use the workstation that's created by Ubiquity Networks and run a virtual machine, but that may have other problems if we go that route.
Yeah, for me, my preference, I mean, and I'm just stating a preference because everybody can vote here. The more complicated we make it, like adding a virtual machine, getting a virtual machine installed, going to RDS, to me that's more complicated than walking through the steps of installing these components if we have access to the components, right? So me personally, I'd rather have a personal laptop running Ubuntu with ROS and all the necessary software on it to make it run. But that's just me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
if we
I
want to
agree
go
with-
that route,
Colin, go ahead.
go ahead, Colin. Sorry.
I'm saying I agree with our proposal. Yeah, I know everything that I installed a few weeks back. When my computer crashed, I had to go all over again and reinstall Ubuntu, reinstall the virtual machine, and start over again. But if we could have the ROS system, bypass the virtual machine and do the right thing, it won't be difficult when we come to using this software onto our tractors later.
That's a good point, Colin. So kind of the way that I would go to keep things consistent is Lino Robot has an install script. It's called ROSMe. And what's nice about an install script is that everybody, it makes it pretty easy. You just run a little script and it will install all of the ROS files that you need. And then we'll be consistent. So Colin will have the same software.
Yes.
We can all have the same software.
Exactly.
Where
can we get that from?
Okay, I'll get the link here.
No, you don't have to do that because it's in, for step 1 for installing, the instructions do take you to git clone github ROSMe and do the install. So the step 1 instructions are already written around using ROSMe to get that far.
Al's already beat us to it.
You had already told me that before. You're just so busy with the World's Fair that you forgot. But again, ROSMe only takes us so far, right?
Yeah. So for me to get this, where are you? Are you on? Is this YouTube?
This is our G drive.
Are you getting this?
This is our Lawntractor folder inside of our ROS Slack Google Drive.
Okay, all right. I get you.
Step 1.
And then I take it. Sure. It's okay.
So my problem statement, is if any of you guys get a chance to log on to the ROS Development Studio, or what he calls RDS, which is rds.theconstructsim.com. If you're still seeing the project folders, it would be helpful to let me know, because maybe there's a way to copy those down. Otherwise, I've got to go find out how to get access to the Husky and load the Husky on to the Ubuntu version of the base build that we've got so far. Has anybody installed ClearPath's products before on Kinetic? Because on their website they seem to be all focused on Indigo.
I've done it on Indigo.
So help me here. Are we going to install Indigo and Kinetic?
Kinetic. ROSMe will install Kinetic.
Right. And then can I put Indigo Husky on top of that?
You'll put Kinetic Husky on top of that.
And the ClearPath guys didn't seem to have any instructions on having the kinetic Husky. Any
So if there's
advice
not,
on how to get kinetic Husky?
yeah, if there's not a, I don't know, I think it's called a binary or package for kinetic, then you download the software from GitHub, locally git clone, and then build it in your Catkin workspace. And then that will make it work in kinetic.
Okay. So the assumption there is there's no version issues for Husky between kinetic and Indigo. So from an instruction standpoint, guys, that's where I'm at, is trying to replicate what Ricardo went through in his class 2. Questions or comments about that? Okay.
Yeah.
What else is on folks' mind today? Colin, anything on your mind?
Yeah, I haven't been focusing on this. It's a terrible week for me because I'm working on something else. Because I really need to get into what Elle has been talking about. Download that and then play with this thing. What you've just been talking about, Elle, is that the director root path you're talking about? When you say, then you load Indigo and ambiguity and so on. Is that the root directory path you're talking about? Did I get it right, or I didn't hear that right?
Colin, I'm not sure I understand your question. Could you ask that again?
When I was talking, when you were talking, Al, you were talking about, you said then we take Indigo and so on. If we are on kinetic, assumes that we are on, if we are on, did I lose you guys?
No, you haven't lost
Am I
us.
still on? Yeah. I'm saying, what were you talking about, the root directory that we need to take to load the files on? Or what I'm saying, I did not quite understand when you were talking about Indigo and kinetic. Were you trying to explain the root directory?
I was trying, I mean, Matt was giving me advice on how to, let me just see if I can find it on GitHub real quick. He was trying to walk me through how to get, no pun intended, is this first one going to be it? Dated a day ago, probably. So this is a GitHub for Husky. Let's assume this is the ClearPath. Yeah, this is ClearPath. I'm sharing my screen, right? Colin, can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it. I can see that. How are you linking? How are you linking this to the steps you were showing earlier on?
This video, this is YouTube, what I'm showing you right here. And
I can see that, yeah.
The person who's started this Ross Development Studio did a class for us. The URL is in the installation step number 3, and he walked through, hopefully you can see this title, how to use GPS to do robot navigation.
Yeah,
In that
I can see that, yeah.
In that
Yeah,
class,
and I understood that. Yeah.
he executed this command, ROS launch husky gazebo husky playpen launch, which started this robot in the simulator.
All right.
That simulator is documented in this GitHub repository. And if you read this very long, you'll find out that this
Yes, I follow that.
for
I follow that. Yeah.
Indigo.
Oh, that's the one that is taking. That's the one that is taking us to GitHub.
Say that again. I didn't understand.
I said that link is taking us to GitHub.
I just pulled up the GitHub. The video isn't taking us to this link. I just Google searched
Okay.
GitHub.
All right. Okay. All right.
And what Matt is saying is, even if they don't have a kinetic version of this, to clone this and use cat can make and create the package. All sounds simple to.
I'm in a meeting.
Alan, you might want to go on mute. Otherwise, we're going to hear about your Zimbabwe business deal.
Yeah. No, I just cancelled it. Yeah, sorry again. So sorry, back to you, Al. Yeah, so you said Matt was explaining that's where we left off.
Yeah, he is suggesting the way to get this onto our local machine is to clone this and use cat can make to create that package, which all sounds marvelously simple. Then we'll see if my skills can make that happen. And if so, then I'll write it up and I'll finish writing it up in our installation instructions here.
Okay.
So I was just doing a bit of a round robin. Colin, any other questions on your mind?
No, not from me.
Well, before you go out and try to clone the Husky repository and compile it, you could just try to install it first and see if it compiles. Or, excuse me, just see if it loads. And I was going to fire up a virtual machine here and see if that works. But if you're running Kinetic and you go to the command line, you just type in sudo apt-get install ros-kinetic-husky, and it may just load up and it's ready to go. Let's see, how can I do this?
Is that going to be similar? Let me find the.
So the results will be whether you clone the Husky and compile it or you just download it directly. It's either one is going to run. It's just the model itself that you're loading.
Jeff, I used a similar command that I'm going to share here for a second. To install TurtleBot, can you? I'm assuming you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
So, I mean, this was the command that I used to install TurtleBot. Are you suggesting a similar command could install Husky as well?
Yeah, instead of saying TurtleBot there, you just say Husky, and that will install that package into your system if it's compiled for it. And there's somewhere you can look to see if it says it's compiled already, but I don't know where that is. Actually, if you go to the ROS install page, down at the bottom it says to see individual packages, they give you a command to type in and it will show you it'll tell you if they exist or not. So if you go to the ROS wiki and say install, it says install for Kinetic. Let's see, Kinetic for Ubuntu. It says to find available packages, use apt-cache space search space ROS-kinetic, and that will list out all the packages that are available for that. So no, go to the instead of Husky, go to the installing Ubuntu in Kinetic, Kinetic version of Ubuntu.
Yes.
And then scroll down. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And right about there somewhere. Go up a few lines. Okay, right there, about a third of the way down the page, it says define individual packages, find available packages. Just type, you put that line in and it'll tell you. So if you just go to a kinetic command line and type that in, it'll tell you if it exists or not.
Yeah, I'm on
I
a
think it
window.
gives you, I think it's going to give you every package that exists, so you then have to search through it to see if that is there. But
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. I'm on a Windows machine at the moment, so I'm not on my Ubuntu machine. That's another option. Thank you for that. Jeff, you had the floor. Anything else on your mind today?
Here's a board that I bought on eBay or somewhere. It's I think it's called a blue pill. It's a ARM board, so it's just a smaller version of that one I had the other day. And I was going to try to get that to run my mini tractor, so I can get 3 quadrature decode channels and lots of PWM channels, and well, not lots. I was going to get 4 PWM channels, and it has a USB and a CAN, but apparently I can't use them at the same time because of the way the chip is laid out. So I'm going to try to get some code compiled for that. And these are, if you buy them from China, they're like $2 a piece, and if you get them from around here, they're like $5 a piece or something. And I ordered a kit that had 2 boards and a programmer. And other people are saying you can just hook up a serial converter and program it without doing anything else fancy. So that's something I try out. And then when Matt gets back, I wanted to show him, because he was showing us that box that he built with all this stuff crammed into it. And I was saying, well, if you put a plate in the bottom of it so you can remove the whole thing, that makes it easier to work on the thing. So I brought mine in, and we can just do a dress rehearsal here since he's busy. But basically, there's my box, all that stuff in it. But see, it's hard to get down into to work on all that stuff.
Right.
So what you do is you just pull it out like this, and see everything's on a panel. And then in the box, it just has standoffs in the bottom of the box to hold the thing. So it just drops in, and you put a couple nuts, and it stays in there. So that way, when you take it out like that, it's just easier to get in there and work on whatever's there. Because when it's down inside the box, you can't reach down inside and do things with it. So.
And that looks like a switch. And is that a Jetson board? What do you got on that? What do you have mounted there?
That is a Pine 64 board, and that's similar to a Raspberry Pi 3. And then in the back there, underneath there, is that 12-volt power supply that it's the wide range 6-volt input, 6-volt to 34-volt input. And we found that works on it. We put that on our vehicles, and when you start the engine, it doesn't drop out because it has such a low input voltage on it. And then on top, I've just got on top of the power supply, there's just a proto board, and then I've got a little Arduino stuck on there. I was going to do some power management so I could turn things on and off based on the ignition switch. And then the other parts on the board are just over here. That black thing is just a battery for my real-time clock on the processor board. And I just got to.
And what does?
What's that?
That blue item you got on the left side.
Let's see.
The blue built up. This one.
The blue board
on the left. The one that is away from the board.
This one?
Away from the board. No. Away from the board. That one. Yeah. What is that?
That's just a battery. They're just two.
The one that one is the battery. I got that. The one right at the edge of that board, right at the edge of the whiteboard. The blues vertically sticking, this one.
That one? That's,
By your
that's
mouth, next to your mouth, next to your mouth, next to your mouth, next to
One
your
with
chin.
all the Ethernet connections.
this thing?
Okay.
It's just an Ethernet switch, so I can have multiple
Yeah,
Ethernet
yeah.
devices.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. It's all right. All right. Thank you.
And then if I
Thank
need
you.
a USB hub, it can just go anywhere. They're small enough. I can just have it hanging inside of there to tie things together.
Okay.
And then hopefully it'll just drop right back in. And it just drops in like that. And put
And
a
then
couple
that would,
nuts on and it stays in there.
and that would mount on your tractor.
So I got to add some connectors for power and communication on it. And they can go on the side or wherever they need to go. So
And were you thinking you would put your GPS antenna on the Pelican case or off the Pelican case and feed the line through?
actually my GPS, which is that little board, which well, it's mounted on my vehicle, but it's about that. The board I have for my GPS is about this big. So it's going to go right next to the antenna. And it just has a USB cable and then it goes down and plugs into this box. Now, if I go with the, we got the Swift multi-eval boards laying around, and those are more like this. I could either put one inside of the box. I need the blue part of it is the actual receiver. I could put that inside of the box, and then just the cable, have the cables bolted to the side of the box, and I could attach the antenna to that if I needed to do that. Or the other option is put this in its own box somewhere and just have, I've been talking to this with Ethernet, so I can just run an Ethernet cable into that box. So there's various options. You just, whatever you happen to have, you have to figure out how to connect this stuff together.
Cool.
And I guess Matt can go back and watch the recording when he gets it done to see all that, because I talked about that a lot more than I planned to, and he's still busy. So
Yeah, he looks like he's busy with somebody's inside his tent. That's a good thing. So have you made it to West Lafayette yet, or are you still near Indianapolis?
Are you talking to me?
No, I was asking Sohin where he was along I-65 on his way to Chicago. Sohin, I think you came off of mute, but we still can't hear you.
Almost near I-90. Yeah.
Any comments or questions from you today?
I had a few comments, but I think I'll save it for next week.
Okay.
I don't trust my connection enough to put my word through. So.
Okay. And Roscon is when? When are you leaving for Roscon?
September 27th. It's on September 29th, but I'll leave on September 27th to give me a day difference.
Good deal. Well, thanks for listening in. I don't have anything else, guys, today. Anybody else wants to share while we're here, or you want to give Matt a minute or two to join? I'm gonna hang on. So feel.
I did get that ultrasonic receiver to work, the one that Matt was showing, and it basically the transducer itself looks like this, and it's the kind like you see on the back of the cars where they just drill a hole and stick this in. So when you back up, it knows if you're going to hit anybody or not. And it's got this fairly long cable, and it had the little board that comes with it. This board here comes with it, and there's just a small Arduino that I have hooked up. And then I had the adapter for the Arduino. But basically just, it takes 2 signal wires to make the thing run. And if you use the code that everybody has published, it doesn't work, because I published that one video saying, the guy said, well, it doesn't work. He said the first version worked, the second one doesn't. And after much digging, I found a website that says you have to increase the pulse width. So you just have to go in the code and change one number. And what you do, then it seems fairly stable. And I don't know, how useful it would actually be, but this was the module, and the little board was, I think, $15 is what I paid for it. But I found another website where they're like closer to $10 or $9. You can get the thing. But the more I looked at, I think it's a website in the UK, even though they still say it's going to cost $2.66 to ship it from the UK. So it may be a valid way to get parts from there, but I haven't pursued that. I'll have to see if this, if I can do something useful with this. And I think the sonar is basically like the little, you see the little boards that have two little modules on, and you can buy them for like $1 or $2 a piece. I think it's basically has the same kind of characteristics that one has. So you can either put a lot of those little ones on or a lot of these on if you're just trying to determine, say if you're backing up, you don't want to back into anything. And the other thing is if you have a laser scanner, laser scanners can identify some objects and not others. So if you have, say, a glass window, the laser scanner sees right through it and doesn't know the window's there, but a sonar then will bounce off. So if you have multiple sensors, you can track, or you can identify different types of objects depending what kind of sensor you have on there. So it might be handy to put extra, put the ultrasonic sensors on there in addition to a laser scanner, or possibly you can put a TV camera on to try to identify objects. So that's something to keep in mind. That, yes.
Oh, I was just going to ask. I didn't mean to interrupt. Any sense of precision? I mean, what would you categorize the level of precision on that thing? Like a foot, an inch, a centimeter?
I was thinking it said that the resolution was like 2 millimeters or something.
Wow.
And the range is like from 20 centimeters out to 600 centimeters. Does that sound 600? That'd be 6 meters, right? So it's slightly, it's from 20 centimeters out to 6 meters. And I don't know how well it works out at that distance. It may degrade the further away you are. And I haven't really played. I just had to point it up at the ceiling, and it told me it's a little over 2 meters away to the ceiling, and I pulled out my tape measure, and that was fairly close.
That's pretty cool.
And you can buy more expensive ones, but this is a cheap hobby alternative. So it's just a matter of. One guy was telling me one time he built a lawnmower and put some ultrasonic sensors on it. And he said the interference from the blade cutting the grass was creating some kind of ultrasonic noises, and that was screwing up his sonar. So there's other cases that, depending what vehicle you put it on, may interfere with what you have. So that's something to keep in mind.
Well, if we're doing show and tell, I put a link in the chat. But in my work, we had a demonstration of this, what effectively is a safety helmet, and an Android computer with a monitor and a camera. So microphone, monitor, camera, all connected with an Android computer that you can talk to. The use case in an industrial setting is, someplace where your hands are busy or you've got safety gloves on, but you want to get instructions from somebody or you want to record what you're doing. Really neat piece of $1,500 gear that, imagine a day when we're trying to tell people how to maintain or install or configure their computer, and they've got one of these helmets on, and we're able to see what they're looking at, and we're able to guide them guide them through the process. It's a neat piece of technology.
Any idea how much that will cost?
The advertised retail price is $1,500, $1,500 US. There's an interesting set of videos that they have out there, and describing the use cases a little bit more. Just sharing.
Yeah. I'm always, I know there is a lot more for us to work on. I'm always wondering when it gets to, can I allow my mind to wander into things that are not on the plan?
That's an important point to remember. The plan that I'm on is steps 3 and steps 4. I'm trying to be laser-like and saying, how do I get through steps 3 and step 4? So right now I'm trying to translate simulating GPS control.
Yeah, all right.
While Jeff and Matt live in the physical world and trying to integrate things, I'm trying to get the software side taken care of. Okay, guys, I'm not sure we're going to get Matt back, so unless anybody has something else, I'm going to, as they say, draw a line under it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, have a great rest of your day and have a great weekend. Sohin, drive carefully.
Thank you very much. All right.
See you guys.
Okay, bye.
See you. All right. Bye.